Broadcasting from Swanson Studios, you're watching Mustang News.
Hello, and welcome to Mustang News TV. I'm RJ Pollock, and joining me here today is San Luis Obispo mayoral candidate Donald Hedrick. Hedrick has ran for public office since 2006. He has served on the board of the San Luis Obispo nonprofit Grassroots No. 2 Incorporated. He also took on the role of treasurer of the Economic Opportunity Commission and sculpted a 4-ton whale for a Morro Bay restaurant. Hedrick graduated Cal Poly in 1969 from the Industrial Technology program and is running for mayor again in 2024. Thank you so much, Donald Hedrick, for being with us here today and taking the time to sit down with us on this fine afternoon. Just wanted to ask you a few questions and kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. Being 2024, and we read up a little bit about it. What is motivating you to run again for mayor again this election cycle?
Well, that's a long story. It begins with participating with the Planning Commission and City Council and the meetings developing a particular developer over town, and I was silenced in my first meeting. It was published back then. It was 5-minute citizen input. When it came to me, they cut me to 3 minutes, which would be a Brown Act violation. And so I've been trying to get that extra 2 minutes ever since, but they don't really want us to be expressing ourselves. They have their own ideas, if at best, and they're probably their special interest ideas. And we've been under action of special interest, buying our town out and developing what they want to make out of it. I prefer our history of our town. We were a mission town, historic, and flavored with the architectural style of the old mission. And we've lost a lot of ground since then. I came to Poly here in '64 and fell in love with our town, nestled in our surrounding hills, and that you can see from anywhere in town almost, but that's becoming a rarity now with all the 3+ heights of houses even. And I'm from a quieter time in our town when you could appreciate a motorcycle, and which brings up that I was also president of the Penguins Motorcycle Club on campus, and a few of the other officers of that organization. And that was at a time when we had access to the hillsides around here, and the Poly Penguins put on several events of tradition. There was the High Mountain Enduro and various other events that we had. Well, it was a good start to life. The college, being away from home and finding your way, and I took interest in also the college union, where I was chairman of the Public Relations Committee. So it evolved to me after graduating. We went into, we had a free university version where people could write up a description of a class they wanted to give, and we would publish it in our catalog, and we did other things, like we started feeding feeding the people that needed feeding. It came from our cooking classes in the pre-university. Well, we did inspire other organizations to pick up the ball, and Grassroots too became the keeper of the feeding the people on Thanksgiving or the day before, because around the college town, people go home to visit Thanksgiving somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So we grew along with inspiring the town to take up other causes that was needed in our lives, and we did pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds pretty incredible. So I guess for this election cycle, when we're looking at 2024, what have you done differently, and what have you done to prepare yourself for this time around?
I've been going through a lot of life troubles right now, and who's to say the source of such troubles? It's just this year I've been preoccupied with a lot of demands on performing this and that. It's been a hard time, and
just working your way through it and that kind of stuff, right?
And health issues coming up, and it didn't help to have my sustenance job cut off 2 years ago. I had a summer job that I work on weekends, and well, I'm not a spring chicken here, but I'm on Social Security, which doesn't pay enough. I've had to depend on recycling to fill up part of the shortfall of what should be our retirement. There's a lot of other side issues to make that harder. We have a problem with our local government that are so enamored with special interest groups. I'm not following the special interest groups. I think they're buying up the town, and the selected officials are happy to sell it.
I guess kind of on that topic, what are some kind of issues that you can see San Luis Obispo already facing that you want to address once elected?
A major annoyance is the woke ideas of separating bicycle lanes from the rest of the traffic, like on Marsh Street and Higuera, where we lost lanes of traffic to embellishments in the curb lines and special accommodations for bicycles. Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure that all this separating doesn't make more trouble than it solves. Sure, a lot more curbs to accidentally drive over. There's also the parking. Filling up our town with multi-stories of humanity stacked on one another, and the favorite can to get kicked down the road is the parking. Well, they'll park somewhere else. Well, you have a whole town of parking somewhere else, and you have a lot of burned gasoline circling around and around. So with all this high-rising construction, we're losing our view of the hillsides we love. Now we just get a little slot view down the canyons of high-rise shadows and block views, where we had to have parking structures all of a sudden. Well, that's a bright side of that, is there's a top floor of a parking structure you can see the hills from. That's not like it used to be. Used to be we had our various historic districts. There was the railroad area, there was the Chinatown. There was lots of important period of houses that were built, and each one of those had their own character. It's being homogenized now with infill, which crams multi-floors of humanity into areas that once used to borrow a parking space in the vicinity, but now with all the extra cars attached to, used to be a formula of equating parking spaces to bedrooms. The number of bedrooms, you get more parking spaces, but they've run out of room to put the parking, and especially when they make these concessionary deals with the developers to give them incentives to. We shouldn't have to have incentives to build this town. We live in paradise, except for the hell that's being brought into the town to turn it into anywhereville. We used to have an identity, but now it's being homogenized. And it's not to the real benefit of our town, I think, having it filled up. They don't want to have sprawl. Well, we have hills that stop that. They can only go up so high on the hill
with that development and other stuff
development,
like that.
yeah.
So I guess a little bit on the topic of homogenizing and also kind of doubling back a little bit. You are an alum of our university from 1969, and kind of talking about how we're all parts of the greater Cal Poly community, and so are you, and your experience graduating from our university. What would kind of be your plan to secure the college voter of today, or how you would kind of appeal to students that are in your former university?
Well, I would first want to say, don't take for granted that things are happening because they're good to happen. We need to have an eye on what's going on. Not just what you see, but the impact that change is being forced on our town. They're taking place all too rapidly. I think we'd like to have our old version of our town. I'm losing my thought.
That's all right. But it sounds like, for the most part, at least for appealing to our college voters, is that we just want to make sure that everything that's being done to our surrounding community, we're aware of. We're aware of the changes, because it sounds like, for the most part, at least in your eyes, that we have significant change that we can make in this election cycle, and to just be aware and involved with the local events and make sure this town of ours stays friendly and welcoming and adventurous to all who may come and enjoy it. So kind of moving on to our last little bit of questions here. I know you've probably already touched on it a decent amount too, across all that we've talked about today. But if you had to give one message to the San Luis Obispo community, not necessarily regarding on why they should vote for you, but just a message in general, what would that message be?
Beware of entanglements with special interest. We have had experiences of I remember at one time China was wanting to be a sister city, have a sister city in China to San Luis Obispo. And we got too much contamination of our country with outside interests like that. And their goal is to influence all the young minds as they come along through school. Capture their attention early. But we have a state government that's not doing too well for us either. What they're doing to the state is awful. The governor wants to go easy on PG&E and their power line right-of-ways that have caused a lot of fires. That's brought hell onto the insurance industry. The one before that was the pharmaceutical industry that COVID come along. And boy, did they find a way to make money off of COVID. Well, just like that, the insurance world is collapsing in California. Many insurance companies are pulling out because they don't want to deal with the environment of political agendas like the governor pushes down on us. We need to be very careful of what's the next key of our world. There was the pharmaceutical, now the insurance. What's going to be the next calamity on Earth? I had experience with my insurance for my car or my truck. They come up with, it was on auto pay. It had no problem at all, but my insurance company changed its name to Toggle. What's a toggle? Something you switch off. And before I could really deal with what was happening to my supposedly automatically paid insurance, I was all of a sudden toggled off into a world where I had to settle for only insuring my truck. And so it was almost, it was double to do it. Switching the name to, I got hooked up with Progressive, but Progressive changed its name to Drive. At least it wasn't Toggle. At least with identifying Drive, I don't understand why they changed the names from it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it sounds like for the most part, just the biggest thing, at least the key takeaway, I think, for our audience today is just to be aware of what's going on in our community. At least I think is kind of the point that we're trying to nail home.
And participate.
Yes, absolutely.
We need people at the meetings to talk about what's important. When I started into this, it was published 5 minutes as an input. But after my first meeting in the Planning Commission, it was switched to 3 minutes. Because they don't want to hear you. They want to make it difficult. And when you have to say what town you live in, that takes up a good chunk of time of your budgeted 3 minutes. And the elected people, although I think they're selected, they're responsible for conducting the business of the town. But we've had a lot lately where our town's key people have fallen prey to the special interest distraction, among which was the marijuana, where the developers growing marijuana on Los Osos Valley Road, they hit the county government, they bribed the county supervisor, the main guy, and he was so embarrassed he killed himself. Well, between that, a couple months after that, I cautioned the city council that they should be careful of their attachments to their special interest. And a couple months after I gave that caution, I've been identified as a harbinger in our town, which is kind of a nice feelings too. But I want to be a candidate of diversity. We are so hung up with the goal of votes being 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. That's not diversity. They've been mind melded into the same. But if we have discussions in this town, we should be able to discuss it among each other from different points of view. All these other points of view add up. And I would presume make better solutions. But the 5-0 thing is dooming this town to the outside big money that comes in to develop the town and take it away from us. We didn't used to have such traffic problems. And parking wasn't such a problem in days when there were a vacant lot here and there. Let there be a little free parking to solve it's overparked now. We waste a lot of time and energy, fuel, trying to find a parking, like today.
I know with the football game going on as well, probably not the most ideal day for parking, but it is a good point. Well, I wanted to thank you again, Donald. That's all the questions that I had for you today. And again, thank you so much for joining me here in the Swanson studio. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. And again, thank you for doing what you're doing. For more information regarding the candidate interviewed today, you can visit mustangnews.net. And for Mustang News, I'm RJ Pollock.